When it comes to sipping rums, how and where do you start? I had that exact conversation very recently in my DMs and it really got me thinking. The initial question was, if I had to put on a rum flight for a bunch of friends that had never drunk neat rum before, how and where would you start? Essentially, what 5 rums would I bring out to play to convert someone that never had rum before into, at the end of the night, thinking, oh, that's really good. And before we go any further, here's a question for you guys as well. In the comments below, what 5 rums would you bring out to play to convert a friend that had never drunk neat rum before? And then while you're there, if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up because that really helps me out. Now that question immediately brought up another 20 odd questions, but it was a great couple of hours of debating, really good fun, especially as it's something that I want to start doing really soon as well, rum tasting nights. And I think ultimately what we concluded is that there's actually no right or wrong answer to this. Some people are going to agree, massively agree with what I say here. Other people are going to adamantly disagree with what I say here. And it also, this comes down to what rums you've got available country to country as well. But a couple of hours later, I was really happy with what I come up with. And I was really happy, if I had to roll this out now as a business, I'd be really happy with what I'm about to tell you. But before I dive into the rum, I just want to give a nod to these glasses. Now, a lot of you over the last few videos will have seen these. These have been my tasting glasses for ages. There is absolutely nothing wrong with them at all. And for me, even better than, you know, tasting rum in something like that. I wouldn't do Sipping Rum NEAT in those. I would definitely go for something like these. But I want to give a shout out to little glasses like this, and a big shout out to the Skylight guys, the Black Tears, the Companeros, other rums coming up here. Because Jazz Indian Chat, they did send me a couple of these through, and I have to say, it's massively changed the way I drink rum. Now, I just call these rum tasting glasses, obviously. They kind of give a nod to Glencairn glasses as well, whiskey tasting glasses. But the whole point being, the narrow opening on the top really does allow those kind of concentrate those aromas. So when you have a little smell in the taste, it really does allow you to pick up different notes, different aromas, different tastes in the rum. Even something completely different to something what this sort of glass would do, and something massively different to that. Right, glasses to one side, let's crack on with the rums. Here is my rundown of how I would run a rum tasting night. Now you're going to have to bear with me here because I know I'm going to lose quite a few people straight away with this, but I've got a valid reason. Had this been 10, 15 years ago, I would have started off something like that. Captain Morgan's, probably the Captain Morgan's spiced, because that is kind of where we are now, but the Captain Morgan's sort of normal rum would be a good starting point. But as this is 2022, the UK market has definitely moved on, and the big 2 rums that I would actually contemplate would be Dead Man's Fingers, and I haven't got a bottle here, it's at the DRINKSTUFF studio at the moment, I thought it was here, or Kraken. Now, my whole point being, I think, because these for me are definitely entry level rums, sipping rums. These are really not going to put too many people off, except for the people that are really used to drinking rum. So the whole point being of how I envision my rum tasting night going, I want to take people on a journey. So I want to start off at the sweeter end of the spectrum and take them right up to something that's really accessible and really good without breaking the bank. But I think in today's UK market especially, we have to flip a nod to the spiced rum world, whether that is Dead Man's Fingers or whether that is something like Kraken. So that's my number 1 rum in my tasting flight, and I'm picking out 5 here. So that's the first one I'll go to. Now the second one, I was going backwards and forwards on this, but I decided to go with Bacardi 8-year-old. For me, it's still a decent price point, roughly about £30. It's still quite easily to get hold of. But for me, I think that is a pretty decent leap from kind of a sweet and spiced rum to a rum that definitely is worthy of sipping neat, but is at that sweeter end of the spectrum. And not only that, it's a brand that a lot of newbies will have already heard of and trust. Now I did also contemplate going for the Bacardi 4-year-old here, as that would probably be a slightly more accessible, but I kind of wanted to get people into the rum, and the Bacardi 8-year-old for me is more rummy in that sense of the word than the 4-year-old. So I think as far as the early stages of the journey go, I'm really happy for that, because that is a very good leap without Bacardi being a million miles away from a spiced rum. And I don't mean that harshly, but it kind of is the sweeter end of the sipping rum spectrum for me personally. I don't think I'm going to turn too many people off from a spiced rum into their first foray into neat rums. Now, by rum number 3, we really kind of want to sort of digging into neat sipping rums. There's a whole host of 3, 5 and 8-year-old rums that I could have put into this bit. I could have even put a sort of a 3 or a 5-year-old there. But remember, this is about sipping rums, and I want people to come away from the end of the evening thinking, wow, I really do love rum. So my next choice is this. Eldorado 12-year-old. Now this is the new version of the Eldorado rums. Note the sort of the black little label, embossed label in there. That kind of signifies these are the unsweetened, or at least really less sweetened than the original. I think they were kind of red in the middle there. The thing with Eldorado rums, Guyana rums, they are kind of very rich, very rounded. They haven't got too much in the way of that peppery spice burn, the woody oak burn that you get off some other rums. So for me, this really is the natural progression from the kind of 8-year-old to the Eldorado 12-year-old. And again, from someone that stepped up from the Kraken or Dave Bland's Fingers to that, I don't think I'm going to put too many people off rum from going from the Bacardi 8-year-old to an Eldorado 12-year-old. And I'll be brutally honest here, if people start turning their noses up at this, then you might as well just forget the rest of the evening, because I really do think these are the accessible rums. So that's 3 rums down. That allows me 2 left in this. So where do I go from here? I thought about this quite a lot. I've gone backwards and forwards for this. I have actually picked out, and I'm going down in ages here, but I've actually picked out Appleton 8-year-old. And my point being, the rum I was going to toy with was the Appleton 12-year-old. But my point being, I don't want to put people off too much. And I think there is more Jamaican, bearing in mind, Appleton is the least Jamaican funk or hogo or anything like that you would get out of Jamaican rums. These are very accessible, world-renowned brands of Jamaican rum. I just think for a rum novice, a rum newbie that's just getting into this journey, I think the 12-year-old potentially could be just a step too much for their first foray. So I wanted to come back to the Appleton 8-year-old. And again, I'm really happy with that choice. I think price point, I think sippability wise, I think it's a very accessible rum. So it comes in just slightly under £30. But a point to note here as well, we're actually going up in ABV, because while these are kind of 40% ABV, this one is actually 43%. And what that'll mean is you'll start to get more of those rummy, woody, oaky kind of notes that come out through the rum, much more than you would do a 40%. And you know what? Give me this as a sipping rum, and I am really, really happy. Sipping rums do not have to be 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds. That you can really get along with some. You could get along with some 5-year-olds if you really wanted to, but 8 to 10-year-old rums, there are some corkers out there. So there's 4 of my 5s, and we've got the kind of the base of the rum world covered there. As I say, we've gone from spiced. We've gone not Cuban, but kind of Latin American sort of style rums, if you like. We've gone for a Demerara, a Guyanan rum. We've gone Jamaican rum. There is only one other place we could go now to start the night, start someone's journey off into rum. And if I was to put on a rum tasting night, 2 novices, 2 newbies, there is no way I couldn't do a night without doing some Barbados rum. And for me, this absolutely smashes it. And yes, I am going back up to a 12-year-old and coming back down to a 40-year-old, but I think this is a Barbados rum. Is a completely different vibe again, and a good natural step up from the previous 4. And also a big point to note here as well, we are getting into the realms now where of completely unsweetened rums, that all the sweet notes you're getting from this is purely the characteristics of the aging, the blending of the rum itself. Apart from a tiny bit of caramel colouring, remember, not taste, caramel colouring to give the brand consistency, there are no additives in these rums. And from a rum journey point of view, I say I'm really happy because we're going from a kind of sweeter, spiced kind of flavour, like, you know, the sort of, I'm not saying natural spices that you would get off something like this, but we're going for the sweeter end of the spectrum, on that journey, the richer, the rounder styles of rums to the kind of more woodier, oakier, touches of natural vanilla coming through as opposed to flavoured vanilla, touches of naturals kind of wood and oak and natural spicing. I'm not talking cinnamon, clove, nutmeg and all that kind of stuff, ginger. I'm talking those spice, peppery notes that you get off barrels when rum is being aged. And remember, the whole point of this night is not to put people off. As I say, you have so many rums who could be there, and I know people's natural, especially rum fans, people's natural kind of instincts would be to put a proper 4 square rum in here, or a big funky Jamaican. But I really do not want to put people off rum. I want to break them in nice and steadily, and I think this lineup is bang on the money. So let me know in the comments below what you think to my rum choices. What would you have done differently if you had a novice, a newbie that never experienced neat rum before? What 5 rums would you break out? Put them in the comments below. And there's also a follow-up question here as well, because if you've got time at the end of the evening and you want to, if people are absolutely loving that, what would you put as rum number 6? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, if you haven't done so already, give this video a big like. So if you enjoyed that video and you want to continue on your rum journey, then kind of click that video there. Watch that, because I think that'll really help you as well.